All right, next assignment here for those of you who are doing Onshape. The one that you did earlier that you should have already turned in is the one that was the sketch creation. And so we're moving down. You should watch this video first. And then after you get that done, you'll come down to the exercise. After the video, you watch that. You come down to the exercise called Extrude. And once you get that, you can see the part that you're going to be creating. It's going to teach you some basic stuff, and this will help you to see how similar this is to SolidWorks. And so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. All you have to do once you get here is you click on the next page button, and you can see that the exercise starts right away, and it gives you step one. It says create a new document and be sure that the workspace length is set to inches. Begin a new sketch on the top plane. So we'll go back, and of course I have Onshape already open. You can see that here's the sketch that we did before and some other stuff that I've been doing. But I'm going to create a new document. And I'm going to call this one Extrude, since that's the name of the exercise. And it does say that I am supposed to make sure that my units are inches. And if I click up here where it says Onshape and come down here to workspace units, you can see that I am already inch, degrees, pounds. So I'm already good there. Don't need to worry about that. So it does say to start a sketch on the top plane. I'll just go ahead and click that and close it. And so I'll click on this top plane here. Now you know I could have clicked right here as well, but once I do that, I'll right click and start a new sketch. And of course, you guys should be remembering this by now, but to get my sketch plane where I'm looking at normal to that, all I got to do is hit the end button. And something that we did not do in the sketch that I was supposed to, I kind of skipped that step and I shouldn't have. It did say to go ahead, once you get your plane selected, you can simply hit the P button to make your planes disappear. So watch, I kind of made that a little bit to the side so you can see all my planes. I'm going to hit the P on my keyboard, and you can see that they all, and I'll go in again. So now I'm normal to that sketch plane again. And so I think that was all of the first step. Let's take a look, and it is. So we will go to the next slide, and it says to use the rectangle and make the endpoint coincident with the origin. So we're going to do that and make it kind of go off down here to the left. Very easy. I'm just going to come up here, find my rectangle tool, click on my origin, and make that come down. So there we are. And so we'll go next to our next step here, next slide, slide number 3. It says, sketch a line whose endpoints share a midpoint of each side of the rectangle as shown. So we're going to draw this line. The important thing is to make sure that that line is coincident with the midpoint here and the midpoint here. So we will do that. And so I will do the line command. And as I hover over this, you can kind of, okay, there you go. And you can see I have the little symbol there for the midpoint constraint. So I click. And do the same thing up here. I'm just going to move it down until I get to the midpoint, and there I am on the midpoint, and I'll click again. And so we've done that. I'll just hit escape to do that. Now, had I drawn that line with the with my left mouse clicked held down, it wouldn't have made me have to hit escape, but I didn't do that. So we'll go back to our exercise. We've got that done. We'll go to the next slide. Add the shown dimensions and accept the sketch. So we're going to add 5 inches here and 3 inches here. So we're going to click on the dimension tool, and we got 5 here. We'll type in 5 and 3 here. You can see that the sketch is now fully defined. It's all black, and so I'm going to accept the sketch. So the next thing is we're going to extrude up from the sketch plane. Let me back up a little bit. One thing I'll point out is that in SolidWorks, before we could extrude this, we would have had to trim this other loop, but we don't have to do this in Onshape. So we're good. All we have to do is do what it says here, which is select the extrude button, extrude feature, choose the sketch profile as the sketch region to extrude, pick blind as the end type and input 1.25 inches. Be sure the extrusion is up from the sketch plane. Click the flip direction icon if needed and accept it. So we're going to go right here, and I am going to kind of pull this up a little bit so we can see it going up. I will click on extrude, and I am going to choose this region right here to extrude, and you can see it pops up. So I'm already going in the correct direction, but it did say it should be 1.25. So I'll change that depth. Of course, blind is already selected, so I didn't have to change that. And so we're good. Everything looks good, so we will accept that sketch. And then I can actually go right here, make that isometric. So we're looking at it right now. That's what our part looks like so far. So we have done that. We're going to go to step number 6. It says, select the back face of the sketch to begin the second part. So I just want to get to where I can see this back. I'll select it. I'll right click, and I'm going to do a new sketch. So there we are. And so I will go ahead and do N for normal. And notice that I'm like this, and so the part that kind of tapers back is right there. We'll hit N again. It's just kind of good to know where that is because that does make a difference. Okay, so now we got that done, and I probably jumped ahead. Okay, so we are looking at that. We've got that normal to, like it says, by hitting the N key, so that's where I kind of jumped ahead. So sketch the line as shown. Be sure to include a horizontal line that is coincident with the top edge of the part. There should be a shaded region indicating a closed contour. So I will go to my line command, and I will click right here and right here, and I'll come up, and I will come over, and I'll come down here and down here. And so we do have a shaded area here showing that it's a complete contour. And so we're good there. I'm going to go to the next slide. And it says, sketch the vertical and horizontal construction lines shown. Be sure the vertical construction line is connected to the midpoint of the top line, and then sketch the circle centered at the intersection of the two construction lines. So you take a look at those construction lines. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to go and click right there because that turns on the construction line. My line is already selected, so I will draw one all the way across. And I have to go line and construction again, starting here at the midpoint. So there we are. I'll come down right there, and that's done. So now we'll do a circle, making the center point coincident right there with that point, and we've got our circle. And so now I think I've done everything that I was supposed to do. Yes, everything is complete. We'll go to the next step. And it says, be sure that all the sketch constraints shown are in your sketch. Hint, show constraints. So we'll go back here and we'll click on show constraints. And we can see that we have everything coincident. We have that at the midpoint like it's supposed to be. Everything is good. So we are good to go. The next one is we're going to add some dimensions. 4 inches from the bottom, 2.5 inches from the bottom, 1.25 is the diameter, and 30 degrees. Let's see if I can remember that. So we got 4 inches from the bottom, and then from here to here, it'd be 2.5 inches from the bottom. This is supposed to be 1.25. And this, click here and click on this line right here. Bring that out as an angle of it's supposed to be 30 degrees. And let's just double check and make sure I did everything right, because I was doing that by memory. We got 1.25, 4, 3, 30 degrees. Looks like I did it right. And so once we've got that done and we're verified, we're going to go back, like it says, and accept the sketch. So we've got the sketch here accepted. I'm going to kind of pull that to an angle so we can see when we extrude. SolidWorks does that automatically for you, but you kind of have to do it yourself in Onshape. So our next step is this. Extrude the sketch profile from the front of the part to a depth of 1 inch. Be sure the Add option is chosen and the part is selected in the Merge scope. All right, so we're going to go right here, and I'm going to click Extrude. I'll click this area right here, and you can see that extruding. It is extruding the wrong direction, so I can click that to reverse it. But I want you to notice that here, this is blue and this is gray. The reason is we have new selected here, and that's something that's different. That doesn't exist in SolidWorks. This actually gives us the ability to create these as 2 separate parts. Since we're trying to create one part, and this should be all one unit, I want to click Add, and that's why in the instructions it said click Add. Notice that it's now all the same color. And that was supposed to be 1 inch, so that is correct. We'll click that, and you can see that we have this thing perfectly done. I'll do isometric, and so there we have our nice isometric view of our part. So we'll go back here and see what they want us to do next. So that was step 11. And we'll go next slide. Step 12 is it says we want to look at the mass properties, and since we don't have a material applied, it has not taught us anything about applying materials. It will do that in the next unit. We're just going to check the volume, and notice how the volume is blanked out here because they don't want to give you the answer, but it tells us that we want to click on mass properties and find out what the volume is, so let's do that. Remember, to get our mass properties scale down here, we have to select the part. And to select the part, you can do it 2 ways. I can just make a box and select the entire part. When I do that, though, I just get this tape measure to measure. So I guess that doesn't work. So we'll click on the part here. When I click on the part here, I get my scales. I click that, and there's my mass properties right there. And this will be what you turn in. But first, before you turn it in, you definitely want to see if it's right. So we're going to see here that our volume is 26.981 inches cubed, or cubic inches. 26.981. So let's go here, and we will click up here to the next page. And 26.981, there it is. I'm going to select that, see results, and it is correct. So again, you're going to screenshot this or take a picture with your camera. Make sure that you send that picture to yourself so that you can see the actual picture file, and you're going to upload that file to Google Classroom and turn it in, and this will be good for a grade. By the way, you guys may notice that those of you who are doing Onshape have you have more assignments than the SolidWorks people. That's because the SolidWorks people are at a further point in the book, and they're not having to learn it from the beginning. So they're actually doing more difficult, bigger, more involved drawings. And so it's right that they should have a little bit less, but it will balance out later on as your drawings get more complicated. So we're done. I'm going to log off.